What's going on, guys? Jeff back with another video. Today I've got another custom project that I'm going to do for you guys. And like the other previous ones I've done, it'll be available for sale on my eBay page. Today we're going to be building this multi-use platform. Made this out of a Walmart plant caddy. It's a multi-use platform for your G.I. Joe helicopter, rocket belt, jetpacks, turbocopter, whatever you can think of that a G.I. Joe uses to fly himself through the air. So without further ado, we're going to head back to the shop and I'm going to show you how I built this. What's going on, guys? Got a really interesting custom project for you today. This here is my multi-use platform. I was at Walmart with my son a few weeks ago. We were just kind of cruising around all the aisles, getting odds and ends, and I ran into the garden section. Let me hold on a second and grab this. Ran into the garden section and got these plant caddies. These are pretty cool. They have adjustable locking wheels on the bottom. I was looking at them and I got a little bit of a light bulb went off in my head. And I decided that that would be a really cool platform for the various different types of adventure team vehicles, i.e. the helicopter, jetpacks, rocket belts, and whatnot. So this is the prototype here. This is not the one we're going to be doing today for this video. This is the original one I made. I just had some spare paint, so I just kind of wanted to make one to see how it turned out. I think it's too busy. I've got too many decals on it. I'd like it, but I don't like it. But it didn't stop me from featuring it in my Rise of the Dragon photo story. If you saw my G.I. Joe Super Joe Dragon figure video, this was in there briefly. But today we're going to be taking this plant caddy and turning it into our G.I. Joe Adventure Team multi-use platform. I think it's going to be a fun custom. Like the Aqua Chest project that I did previously, at the end of this video, I'll be posting one of these for sale on eBay in case you're interested in adding this to your collection for your various Adventure Team figures and helicopters. As you can see, I've got my G.I. Joe Dragon figure here and the jetpack from Mark II Customs on Etsy that I decaled up. So you can see it's just a really cool platform that allows you to use your jetpacks or your turbocopter or your Adventure Team helicopter or all the other different cool things that your Adventure Team has for flight. So we'll pause the video and we'll come back and I will show you guys how I'm going to make this multi-use platform for the G.I. Joe Adventure Team. Alright, welcome back, guys. So here's the components of this multi-use pad build. I had to, when I was first starting this project, figure out what I was going to use to fill in this portion for the landing pad. I went to a hardware store. I thought about using different types of sheet metal, and I really didn't want to have to mess with it on my bandsaw. I've already screwed my hands up enough on other projects. I didn't want to cut a finger off trying to do something silly. I thought about wood, but it seemed too heavy. So I thought about plastic sheeting, but I had a hard time finding anything this big. This diameter is 11 7/8 inches. So I settled on this foam board. I used it on the prototype one, and it worked out really well. And I just hot glue it to here, and then I put a bead of construction adhesive around and seal all this up, and it actually looks really nice. And once you get it primed and painted, it's rigid and it finishes well. So I also took the time on my printer. I got some cardstock from making birthday cards for my son's birthday invitations. Invitations for my son's birthday party a few years ago. I bought a giant stack of these. So I printed these out on my printer. I drew them up on my Apple app. And so what I'll do with these, I'll cut out and do different spray templates, or I'm sorry, spray stencils. And you'll see that as we progress later on through here as well. Something that's handy to have is this protractor set. This is from my dad's, probably in the 1950s, I would imagine. He gave it to me when I was in high school, and this is really handy to have for a lot of custom projects. I don't really break this out much, but I do use it when I have to do a lot of arcs and radiuses and circles. It's pretty handy to have. I'm old enough that when I first started college, I had to use one of these in a drafting class when I was doing my pre-engineering degree. You had to learn AutoCAD and also regular drafting back in the early 90s. So I do know how to use all this. I really wish kids today knew how to use them, but everything's so computer oriented now. People just don't really know how to do a lot of stuff by hand anymore like this. Anyways, this is handy. What I'll use this for is what I did use it for, and I'll show you as we progress as well through the video, is that I did a giant circle template for the landing pad portion. So I used this protractor set to do that. So other than that, I also have this paint here. Now you'll see in a later video coming up, I bought this paint for an ATV project I'm doing as a restoration. And I also have this paint here. I really like the Rust-Oleum paints. I think I'm going to do the pad out of this orange. I'm also going to do one out of the green at some point, but I'm going to do this orange. This pad's going to be an homage to the troubleshooter colors, so that's what I'm going to roll with. So as we progress, you'll see how I go through all this. So anyway, those are the components of what we're doing. So when we come back, I will go ahead and have the foam board cut out with my circle template, and we'll mount it to the platform, and I'll show you the bead of construction adhesive I use around the outside edge. All right guys, welcome back. So here we go. I went ahead and made a template for the base pad of this platform. Go ahead and show you what I did. So I went ahead and just measured the inside diameter. It's around 11 7/8 of an inch. So then I took my protractor, laid out 11 7/8 of an inch on this scrap piece of poster board, and then obviously if you've ever done stuff like this, I just laid out an arc, measured over half of 11 7/8 of an inch to set my radius. Use that to lay out a circle template, and then took the circle template with a white colored pencil, laid it out on the foam board, and cut out my base pad piece. So pretty simple to do if you're going to make one of these yourself. It's all just using templates and a little bit of math. So anybody can do it. So this piece now fits down in here like so. And I'll take this old glue gun that I've had for probably 35, 40 years, I would imagine. Hot glue, press this in, and then I take construction adhesive and go around the outside here to this gap and just smooth it out like you do a caulk, and let that dry. Prior to doing that, these wheels actually pop off, so I would suggest taking these wheels off if you're going to paint it, because there's some overspray that gets under and you don't want to get your wheels. So I will tape around the inside of pop the wheels off and tape around the inside of this, protecting that black and keep it. You can see here when I did this, when I got a little overspray. So, lesson learned. So we'll come back and I'll show you what this looks like, glued in and sealed with the construction adhesive. Alright guys, so we're back. The pad is on the platform. I've taken that construction adhesive, went around the outside, just kind of took a vinyl glove, put it on my hand, just kind of did it like I do caulking. And obviously I've got the bottom part here taped up. Now when you get this thing all painted, you won't notice any of the smudges or smears. So this is pretty cool. It provides a nice solid platform. It makes it lightweight, and this foam board is paintable. We'll prime and put several coats of paint on this, so it'll obviously turn out similar to this one, which is also foam board. It's been painted. The old prototype platform here. So next up, I'm working on templates for the decals. So I just wanted to show you guys this. We'll let this dry. We'll come back and we'll talk about these templates I'm going to use to make my Adventure Team logo on this platform. Welcome back, guys. You're probably wondering what's going on right now. Well, I just found out and learned a very interesting lesson. On the prototype that I made at the intro video, I used this white foam board, which has more of a gloss finish, traditional poster board finish. On this one I just showed you in the previous video, I used this black poster foam board. And turns out when you paint this black foam board with any type of paint, spray paint, the black poster board covering on the foam tends to wave and ripple, so it debonds from the foam. That's a hard lesson to learn. So I took the multi-use platform template or blank from the previous video, threw it off to the side. I'm going to rip off the foam and redo it at some point. But as a result, I went out and bought a brand new piece of foam board with the white, and I will actually remount that. Now, another thing I'm going to do is I found out you can use hot glue to mount these, as I originally said, but contact cement works way better, and the reason it does is sometimes I put these in the sun to dry, and we've had some really hot weather lately, and in the intense sun, due to my neglect and forgetting to leave it out there, the sun gets so hot that it actually melts the hot glue. So it debonds the foam from the actual plastic of the blank here. So not only did I screw the foam up with the paint, it also debonded and warped. So that's something I gotta remedy, and I will, but we're gonna use contact cement and this nicer foam board. So don't skim on your foam board. Get the white with the gloss finish and use it. You're able to paint it. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll use the contact cement, get this mounted. We'll seal it again with the construction adhesive, let it dry, prime it, and we'll be back. And then we'll continue with this video. So this is the first speed bump I've had in a while in a custom. So just letting you guys know that this shit happens way more often than what a lot of people let on in their videos. So I'm just trying to be transparent and share it with you. Good guys, welcome back. Well, we've got this thing primed. As you can see, I've redone it from the previous clip. Now it's important on these, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. If I did, I apologize. You're going to paint these to tape around the bottom so you don't get that overspray. Gives it a little bit more of a refined look. So right now we're going to let the prime cure. It's that Rust-Oleum gray prime coat. Let it cure for a bit, And then we're going to paint this thing up with some nice vibrant orange color. And we'll come back and take a look at what that looks like, and then we'll talk about some decaling options. I've gotten a couple different versions of this done. Just been messing around with prototypes to kind of figure out what my final decaling scheme is going to be on this. And I think I've settled on a pretty solid one. So we'll let this prime dry, then we'll give her a coat of orange, and we'll come back and we'll talk about some decals. Hey guys, welcome back. So we finally got this thing painted orange. Seems like it's taking me forever in a day to get back to working on this, but it's finally painted orange and it looks pretty good. I like the way this orange turned out. It's the same type of orange I used on my ATV renovation custom project that you saw earlier. So the next thing we got to do is decal and stencil this thing. So my previous ones I've done, my prototypes, I've actually made a stencil and then put it on there and spray painted around it. I didn't like the way that turned out, so I'm kind of trying some new stuff. So I'm taking some cardstock, which I had left over for making birthday cards or birthday invites for my son a while back. And I have printed out several replicas of this stencil I'm going to do. So the first things first is I'll line this up on here, throw the stencil, cut these chevrons out here, and then place it on here like so. Spray paint around that, tape it all off, mask it all, spray paint around to get the chevrons, and then also the center circle. I'll cut out the whole circle, so this will all be black. That's what I'm thinking. And then I'll make another stencil similar, then not cut out the chevrons, but cut out the AT logo, throw it on there, spray paint that back orange. So it'll be black and orange. I know I probably did a really crummy job explaining how I'm going to do this, but I'll go ahead and do the stencil. I'll come back and I'll show you exactly how I did it. So we'll pause the video and I'll get all this stuff cut out, and we'll come back and I'll show you what the stencil portion looks like. So after the stencil's done though, then we will begin the process of decaling it. And like I said earlier, I think I've settled on a final decal array for this one. So yeah, it's coming along pretty good. We'll be back. Okay, welcome back guys. So I just realized that I did a really shitty job of explaining my stencil process. So I'm just going to show you what I did. So I started with this original stencil here. Made several copies of this on cardstock. Cut the first one out to look like this. So it will lay on the M.U.P as shown. And then I will overlay. So I'll go ahead and spray paint this black, and then I will overlay this stencil here, and then spray paint that so it'll be a nice Adventure Team logo with the chevrons that outline the place you land your aerial vehicle of choice. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm really old school. If you are really talented or have like one of those crickets, whatever, you could make a vinyl decal for this. You could do a lot of things. If you decide to make your own, there's a lot of ways to do it. I'm just really old school. I'm a baller on a budget, so I don't want to invest a bunch of money in this stuff when I can just do it by hand and it looks pretty decent. And it's also, I feel like it just kind of means more if it's done by hand. But yeah, Cricut would be great. My sister-in-law actually has one, but I've not taken the time to learn it. So I still do stenciling on occasion. You could also, which I've done in the past, let me bring you over here for a second. If you take a look at this one I've done here, I actually have I just printed out a decal on my printer and then Mod Podged it. But also here's the final, this is what the final decal array is going to look like. So I've added an American flag, I'll show you what it all looks like when it's final, but that's what the decals are going to look like on this when we get finished. So yeah, we're moving right along. We'll come back and we'll hopefully have a finished stencil. Alright guys, so here we are, phase 1 of the stencil. Can't see it real well because of the black, but I've masked everything off. I've spray painted the black, so we'll let that cure for a bit. Then we'll peel that back, and I'll do the orange, and then you can kind of see what the final stencil looks like. But this is kind of how I do this process. Okay guys, so here we go. Got the stencil pretty much put on there. So basically this is curing right now. So I give it about 24 hours before I hit it up with a coat of orange. Reason being is sometimes if you don't give this paint enough cure time, it could curdle on you. I've had that issue a lot lately because I've been impatient. So I'm just going to hang tight, and when we're ready to go, we'll just flip this over, hit it with some orange, kind of get any kind of overspray we got from the black, and we should have a nice cool black stencil for the center of this multi-use platform. So hopefully it all works out. We'll be back in a few. Okay guys, we're back. So here is the finished stencil. Looks pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's kind of the way I do stuff. So once you get the decals on it and we get it all sealed up with the Mod Podge, it's going to look pretty awesome. Pretty happy with the way it turned out. It's a very simple style stencil, so I think with the orange it looks great. So pretty cool. We'll go ahead and let this cure out and dry, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about decaling. Hi guys, welcome back. So it's time to do some decals. Like I mentioned earlier, I've got kind of a set decal schematic that I've kind of settled on for these future multi-use platforms. So with this one, we're going to go with the standard decals I made. Obviously, you've seen several of my videos where I've talked about how I make my decals, how I do my decals, so I'm not going to go into any of that. You can check the description at the end of this video, and I'll put links to all that kind of stuff, so I won't bore you with the details. So obviously I have my method that I use. Use the Liquitex gel medium, and I will put these decals on. For the ones that are actually printed on my printer with paper that aren't on the label paper, I will use Mod Podge to attach those, and it'll be finished. Now once we get the decaling done, we come back, the decals will be done. I'll have them all peeled off. You get to see what this final thing looks like. I'll have it all sealed up. I'm going to try a new product today. I'm going to try this Mod Podge matte acrylic spray sealer. Normally I brush everything with regular Mod Podge, but I'm going to try the sealer on this one, so hopefully it works out. So we'll get this thing all decaled, come back, pop the wheels on it, and we'll have a finished product, and we'll talk about it with a few final thoughts. Welcome back, adventurers. Well, here we are. This is the completed multi-use platform. I've got some air adventures with various flight packs and apparatus around it for scale. Let's talk about a few things real quick before we do some demonstrations. I was not really comfortable with the way the stencil turned out, so I ended up putting a decal on there, and it kind of, you can still see a little bit of the shadow of the stencil, which I might put another decal on top of that to block that out, or I just might leave it as is. I don't know. This thing was kind of a nightmare to do for this project, and I don't know. We'll just see. When I start to do a project, I come up with a concept, and then I make a prototype so I can figure out what all the issues are going to be with it. And these multi-use platforms, they're a great concept, but there's still a few things I'm trying to iron out. I don't really like the foam board. because I have to fill in the gaps around the outside with glue, and it's hard for me to get that smooth. And it looks, looks a little unfinished, but sometimes one-of-a-kind items look like that. Customs do, just they're not always perfect. The decals I love, they turned out great. The stenciling still needs some work. There's a little bit of overspray, but I'm not going to cry over that either. The whole concept, though, I think is a good one. It's just there's some few things I've got to refine. It's definitely been a trial and error process. I've done several of these, and for this video, I screwed a few up that I had to go back and redo. So this is the final one. This is the one that's going to go on eBay. It'll be pretty much this one. It might have the label changed a little bit. It might not. I haven't decided yet. But at the end of this video, it'll definitely be on eBay. But I think it's a cool concept, and it's a neat item. I'm just not 100% comfortable with how these are turning out, which is okay. It's usually the case sometimes. But hopefully you guys like them. I guess we'll find out. Anyway, I've got, I think, 4 of them. I sent one of them to Adam at G.I. Joe The Lost Chronicles to look at. It's very similar to this one right here, this silver one. It turned out really nice too. I think Adam showed it in a short that he did. I also have this yellow one that I did. It's a prototype. It has some issues. It was a little bit of paint issues here with the stencil. But, it is the way it is. I'm not going to cry over it either. It's going to be it's an okay one for somebody's collection. Like I said, people can decide whether they like them or not. And then, of course, there's the original one that I did for my dragon build. This is the very first one I made. I actually like the way it turned out. It's a little more refined than the others. I don't know what happened, but it worked out pretty well. So anyways, we'll go ahead and throw some G.I. Joes on here for scale so you can kind of see how this thing functions. So this is our Air Adventure with the Turbocopter pack on there. You can see, it's a nice scale item for the Turbocopter pack. It looks really good on there. Kind of looks like something you would see with the Adventure Team back in the day. Put him off to the side. Then the famous rocket belt. You can see it looks really nice on there too. My elastic's a little bit shot on this one. It's an old vintage one that I need to get some new elastic, but his Kung Fu grip hands serve the purpose. And last, the Huckster Gyro Pack. As you can see, it looks nice on here too. I like this. I like it a lot. This goes together really well. So I think this is a cool accessory for this gyro pack. Yeah, that looks nice. And last but not least, most important, the iconic, let me set this guy up, the iconic G.I. Joe Adventure Team helicopter. Oh, got some G.I. Joes that just fell over. It's okay. Let's move those out of the way. Happens every time, doesn't it? So yeah, you can see the scale of the helicopter. It's might be a teeny bit, the skid fits on it. But yeah. I think it looks pretty good. It's a cool concept. I'm happy with it. Like I said, there's just a few little blemishes with this that I'm not 100% sold on. But it is what it is. I'm not going to cry about it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this. It's something anybody can make. Just go get you a plant caddy at Walmart and It's really simple to do, and there's probably guys out there who could do a lot better job of finishing it than I did. But I enjoyed making this. It's one of the cooler concepts that I've came up with. So that's about all. Like and subscribe to the page. Please share these videos on your various social media platforms. Hit the notification icon. I got a lot of other content coming. This will be available on eBay with a couple other of these multi-use platforms later on today. So until next time, guys, cheers.